Ladies and gentlemen, according to Rick Grenell, the former interim director of national intelligence, there are going to be more indictments. So when people say, oh, the Durham probe, nothing's going to come of the special counsel. So there's a special counsel. There are so many good people who believed in nonsense for so long. And I said, wait until there's a special counsel, just like Mueller. Okay? The DOJ cannot stop or prevent or end this special counsel. They already indicted 2 people without any media support, without any support from the Republican Party, and with extreme opposition from the Democratic Party and media. Durham is doing his job. There's really not much he can do. If he comes out with a report next month or at the end of 2022, he will have done his job. But there are going to be more people indicted. I have been telling you there's going to be more people indicted for a long time. I'm telling you there's going to be a market crash. We'll get to that in a moment or in a couple of minutes. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. That used to be H.A. Goodman's other channel. That will be below in the description. I have a segment out today that talks about exactly what's taking place with the economy, which is basically we're heading towards a financial catastrophe. And I'll get to that later, but hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. It's right here. Every morning I give analysis and the latest economic news, which almost always is negative. Consumer confidence is down. Shipping costs, producer price index, consumer price index, inflation, all up 20%. The Fed has introduced 20% more money supply within the last year. So 20% of all dollars in circulation have been introduced within the last year by the Fed, by the quantitative easing. We can get to that in a second. Margin debt is at an all-time high at the same percentage of GDP as it was before 2008, 1987. So, I mean, this is all, like, you have the Durham probe. He's going to indict more people. There's no, the statute of limitations don't apply because there have been testimonies under oath 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. So don't think that the statute of limitations is up. That's not true at all. According to Rick Grenell, people are perjuring themselves every single day. Hit subscribe to this channel, to my super chat. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. To my super chat, thank you. And if you have any thoughts on the economy, on the Durham probe, on Biden, and the latest mess now in terms of foreign policy, could you imagine if Trump was president, the media hysteria, and it's radio silence when it comes to outrage. And AOC and Bernie Sanders are going to be blindsided by the economic collapse or the stock market collapse we're going to have eventually within the next year. They're going to be blindsided, just like they're silent about all the atrocities taking place and the mismanagement and the inept, completely inept administration that they're propping up. So hit subscribe to this channel. We're over 184,000 subs because of you. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market channel. That will be below. I'll put that in the chat right now. Durham probe is going to heat up eventually. Like I said, like I keep telling you, Durham needs some media support. He needs some support from the Republican Party. He knows that Democrats will protect all the intelligence operatives that sold their soul to the Democratic Party. Anyone who thinks that Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan and Comey and this lawyer indicted along with Kleinsmith, the second indictment, anyone who thinks, no matter how smart the person is, oh my God, there are brilliant atheists and brilliant scientists and brilliant scholars who think that Trump is a madman and he lies so much and he's a deviant, boorish, destructive force in American politics. Anyone no matter how intelligent you are, if you think that the investigation into Trump was completely apolitical and Comey didn't have a political objective in protecting Clinton and going after Trump, if you think that Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them were unbiased, apolitical actors who had no ulterior motive in setting up and framing an incoming president based on absurd hearsay gossip, a hunch, confidence levels, you can't do that. Because guess what? When Republicans want to investigate an incoming Democratic president, then you'll see media and Democrats say, no, you can't do that, you can't have that. Paul Bartlett, thank you so very much. Paul Bartlett, thank you. Thank you, Paul, as always, for your kind words as well. Thank you for starting off the super chat. Paul, thank you. You cannot have a democracy, a functioning government, when the government is leveled against the political rival of the establishment. Let's say the Democratic Party and McCain and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and Richard Burr and Cheney and Kinzinger. You will never get a Republican like George W. Bush again. You will never get a Republican that wants an interventionist foreign policy with regime changes. You're never going to get that again. The Lincoln Project has been excommunicated, kicked out to the curb, completely expelled from the Republican Party forever. They will never come back to the Republican Party because I was a lifelong Democrat, but I understand how politics works. The Lincoln Project people and Cheney and Kinzinger, first of all, the Lincoln Project were against marriage equality. They disparaged veterans who were heroes in Vietnam, and they were the most despicable people on the planet. And these are the people judging Trump. Then you have Hollywood producers who work in the epicenter of immorality in the entire universe, and they're the ones who despise Trump. Then you have intelligence operatives who conjure up the most absurd nonsense that Trump was a Russian operative. Then they investigate for 3 or 4 years, and media is complicit in creating this hysteria, and they find nothing. But then if Trump even dares to ask about investigating Biden, oh my God, impeachment, oh my God. Then they blame him for January, and of course they find nothing. So it's like you simply cannot, if you're Trump right now, you just have to wait. And I say this, I hope I'm wrong. I told everyone Clinton would lose to Trump. My analysis is pretty spot on. I haven't been right about everything, but I hope I'm not right about this. There's going to be, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, all the other digital currencies, they're going to tank. And I don't say this with glee because I actually, the philosophy behind Bitcoin resonates with H.A. Goodman, with me. It resonates. I respect the philosophy behind why somebody would buy or believe in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. I respect that thought process, okay? I respect that philosophy. Unfortunately, when the economy tanks again because of a stock market crash that's going to be fueled by derivatives trades that cause billions and billions in losses, when all of that happens, and you have, consumer confidence is down. Consumer confidence today was down, mired at near-decade lows, according to the University of Michigan. And then you have a labor shortage. But you have record profits. Now, what do you think's going to happen when people don't want to pay more for items, goods, and services? Because there's a psychological element that Democrats are trying to, keep away from people. Jordan Weinberg. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, as always. I hope all is well. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday, Jordan, and a great weekend. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Jordan Weinberg, thank you so much. Jordan, everybody here. Paul, thank you, Jordan, again. As always. There's a psychological and emotional element to the market rally. The initial rebound in the economy was fueled by people who were essentially grounded. Like, they were told to stay in their homes and not work. They were prevented from working by Democrats and media. This was not Trump's fault. When the catastrophe happens yet again, because this economic rebound is not a rebound. It's smoke and mirrors, it's illusion. You've pumped 20% more money into the economy through quantitative easing. Eventually, there's going to be something called Fed tapering, where they stop buying government securities and injecting money into the economy. That's going to frighten that's going to frighten the market. But there's a whole bunch of things. Today, consumer confidence was lower than expected. Shipping costs, the Baltic Dry Shipping Index, is higher than it has been in 10 years. Do you think that Bernie Sanders is talking about the Baltic Dry Shipping Index? Do you think he's talking about that? He's talking about the billionaire class. AOC is talking about morality. Don't you know? Don't you know she's talking about morality? And the Baltic Dry Index hits 12-year high. Okay? The Baltic Dry Index, a major indicator of shipping rates, settled Friday at 4,275 points, marking its highest level since November of 2009. The costs eventually are going to be so high, consumers are not going to want to pay the high cost for goods and services. When that happens, corporate profits will decrease. Before that happens, you're probably going to look at a market crash. You're probably going to look at bank bailouts. You're probably going to look at a whole bunch of things that AOC and Bernie Sanders and every morally superior communist and socialist and liberal Democrat aren't looking at. They don't talk about, I'm not an economist, but I have a certain level of intelligence, and I possess, I think, more wisdom than most people in politics. So do you, if you're watching this channel. But so do you. You know that media and politicians run on public relations. They don't. Look, you think Bernard Sanders cares about the Baltic Dry Shipping Index? You think he does? You think AOC is going to talk about the Baltic Dry Shipping Index to Rose Twitter or the communists and socialists? And they don't care. I was there my whole life. I know. When I was on the left, I didn't care about any of this stuff. I just cared about what I thought was moral. I cared about what was just. But more justice and morality, if you don't look at the Baltic Dry Shipping Index hitting a 12-year high, and you're not going to protect the working class, and you're not going to protect all the people you think you're protecting with your tweets and your sermons and preaching. It's a grift. The biggest grifters on the planet are politicians and voters who believe that they're morally superior while at the same time being completely ignorant of basic economics. You don't have to be an economist to know that the Baltic Dry Shipping Index hitting a 12-year high is bad for consumers, for manufacturers, for businesses, corporations, everybody. You don't have to know that inflation going up at over 5%, a 13-year high, consumer price index over 10-year high, a producer price index over 10-year high, Baltic Dry Shipping Index over 10-year high. I mean, what more do you want? It's pretty obvious. It doesn't take Nostradamus to understand what's going on. And I'm like the only person in politics, in the political sphere, okay? People generally don't know who I am, which is great. Totally fine. It's like exactly what I want. But I'm the only person in the political sphere telling everyone the market's going to tank. Save your money every month. As I ask people for Super Chat, which is the only way I could do these live streams. But I'm telling you, save your money. You're getting something from my voice that you're not getting from Bernie Sanders, AOC, or Mitch McConnell. They're not telling you to save your money. I'm not saying invest in anything. Because I think cryptos, Bitcoin, stock market, I think everything's going to tank. I think everything's going to tank. And there's going to be another recession. The bank bailouts. The bank bailouts could happen again because you're going to have banks. Lisa Compton, Lisa! My miracle's beginning to unfold, HA. God bless you. God bless you! Lisa Compton, thank you so very much. And it's beautiful to have miracles, and it's beautiful to, have that positivity. So, Lisa, thank you so very much for your support. Greatly appreciated, Lisa. If Lisa, if you and Jordan and Paul and everyone here, if you just remember that your life should be always filled with love, happiness, joy, success, health, laughter, because you need your life needs to be insulated and protected from all the madness that's going to take place, because there's going to be some madness, and it's going to be by people who obsessed over Trump like hysterical lunatics. They still do. And Trump, he was going to launch a nuclear, it was going to be nuclear annihilation. And General Milley, he protected us from Trump. Don't you know? Don't you know? Where is the evidence for this? It's in a book. Oh, really? Really? It's in a book? That's about it? That's all you got? It's in a book? Okay. That's all you have, huh? It's in a book. And so, they don't have anything on Trump. Foreign policy is an absolute catastrophe under Biden. Foreign policy, economic policy, I'm not going to get into, anything controversial. They're focusing on everything but economic growth. They're focusing on anything but economic growth. The only thing keeping Biden's administration, could you imagine what is going to take place when the stock market crashes and Bitcoin crashes and cryptocurrency crashes and investment savings, investment accounts, 401ks, IRAs decrease substantially in value at a time when we were supposed to be rebounding? Could you imagine? It could happen March of next year, because the market will probably either tank tomorrow or next month, or not tomorrow, but next month or next week, or it'll keep going up until March of next year. Around March, April, May of 2000, everything tanked. Okay? And we're about 11 years from 2000. And 2008, sorry, we were 20 years, but 2008, we're about 13 years from 2008. 8 years prior to that, you had 2000. 13 years prior to that, you had 87. So every 10 to 13 years, there's a tremendous market collapse. Okay? The problem here is that Biden is running on borrowed time in terms of the economy. Roger Rabbit! Each one of these criminals that you speak of has their part in the task of enraging. It seems it's finally beginning to work. God bless you, Goodman, for what you're doing. God bless you, Roger Rabbit. One of the great names and profiles in this channel's history. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Lisa Compton, thank you so very much. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Exactly. David's here. Exactly. You have China pumping in trillions of dollars into its economy. Injecting liquidity into its economy. Sorry, 14 billion. So Chinese banks injected $14 billion into the country's banking system. Okay? So that happened just the past day or so. I mean, every single thing that you could think of. Tammy, thank you. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Every single thing you could think of that's pointing to an absolute catastrophe. Every single thing you could think of is happening. And hit my can of Lysol. And it's taking place right before our eyes. You can see that Biden's administration is running on immense media support. They just went ahead and ended the lives of about 10 civilians, okay? And none of the adversaries, okay? So that was several weeks back, and we just found out 10 civilians. So you better believe AOC and all the other wonderful democratic socialists or socialists in government, you better believe they're not going to. They might, maybe a tweet or two, maybe a tweet or two. But you better believe they're on the side of justice and morality, man. They're on the side of justice and morality. Like, if I need spiritual guidance, I'm not going to go to AOC or Bernie Sanders or anyone on Twitter. They've replaced church and synagogue and a holy place of worship for, like, these are generally on the left. Not that it matters, because there are atheists who are wonderful, amazing people, and very intelligent and possess a great deal of wisdom, but these are atheists who've replaced religion with politics. So they get spiritual sustenance from pontificating and preaching and giving these sermons on social media. It's like nobody's going to care when the market tanks, because AOC and Bernie Sanders are completely oblivious to this. They're not, go and look today. They're not talking about any economic index. You can look right now at what Bernie Sanders is saying. Whether we are successful in our efforts to deliver a government which works for the working class and not the wealthy. This is like, you could write Hallmark cards like this. Whether we are successful in our efforts to deliver a government which works for the working class and not the wealthy few depends on our ability to stand together. Our power is solidarity. Bernard, do you know that the Baltic Dry Shipping Index is at a high not seen in over a decade? Do you even care? What about the Consumer Price Index? What about consumer confidence being at a 10-year, over-decade low? Can I get any economic indicators from you, except aside from the usual nonsense on your Twitter account? Not one economic indicator, because it all points to mashed potato brains. It all points to mashed potato brains. Maybe I'm a little bit of a radical, but I happen to think that the richest country in the planet, people should not have to be cutting their pills in half or rationing their insulin. Well, Bernard, maybe if you didn't prevent people from working for the past year, maybe that wouldn't have to happen. But you did, along with mashed potato and all the other maniacs. So you're not going to get any economic indicators pointing to a catastrophe. They're going to be blindsided, but it's going to work for their grift, because the people they speak to, the voters they speak to, don't care about economic indicators anyway. They just care about Is the economy good or bad? And that's it. And it's bad. And oh my God, the rich are getting richer. Oh my God. And then Biden is going to be completely clueless with Blinken and everybody else. Okay. With Yellen, they all have this look like they're married to Hellraiser. You know, the monster from that movie. Blinken especially looks like he's seen a ghost every time he speaks. You know, like when Don Knotts used to like be frightened. He has that look. He looks like Don Knotts, like always like. They all look like petrified squirrels, and it does, and they always seem. And the only person who even has any confidence is Psaki. The only person who has any confidence is this woman who reprimands journalists. Stranded? You think that these Americans are stranded? It's an extended vacation? In a place where they can remove your head from your body, but fine. We notified them. We called them 19 times. You see these morally superior. They were notified 19 times. Like, you think cell phone service or Wi-Fi was good? They think it's like, they think that Afghanistan is just like where they live. So, just like where they live. And they have the same Wi-Fi, the same, cable and Netflix and everything. Well, they shouldn't have been watching Netflix. And they shouldn't have been, they should have paid attention and left. It's like, well, there were 20 checkpoints by the T-Ban and other maniacs. So, it's like, these people they're completely clueless. They're completely and utterly clueless. Hold on 1 second. They're completely and utterly clueless, and it's happening under their watch. And they're going to find a way to blame Trump. They're going to find a way to blame Trump. I don't know how, but they're going to find a way to blame Trump. This is what they were focused on. They were focused on taking him down. And then when a global catastrophe hit, they said, well, we just have to shut down prevent people from working. And that is the original sin. You should never have done this. The majority of the labor force wasn't impacted. We have 160 million people in America's labor force. The majority of those people were not impacted in the same way that people above 65 with numerous health conditions were impacted, according to government data. You should never, ever, ever have prevented people from working. That should never have been possible, even on the table. Once you prevented people from working, you created the groundwork for a catastrophe. And they're completely clueless now. They're completely and utterly clueless. They don't really understand, nor do they care what's going to happen with the economy. They don't care about setting up and framing Trump. So that is, they definitely don't care about that. Okay? They definitely don't care about that. So, they don't care about setting up and framing Trump. But they'll be forced to care eventually. Because you're going to have more indictments with the Durham probe. And it's like, it's like every economic indicator is pointing towards a catastrophe. Democrats are clueless. They want to pass protocols and legislation that have literally nothing to do with economic growth. The shovel-ready jobs are not going to be shoveled by the majority of the labor force. So, I don't know, like, when Biden talks about the infrastructure, but say, when I think about infrastructure, come on, man, I think about, lots of jobs, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, trillions of jobs, man. Oh, I like the way that sounds. We're talking about employment bill. But it has nothing to do with actual, we have a problem with inflation, a labor shortage, a supply chain shortage. Okay? The value of the dollar is decreasing. You have unemployment checks that are now running out with an eviction crisis. I mean, the writing's on the wall that it's an absolute catastrophe ahead. It's an absolute catastrophe ahead. And what are they doing about it? Nothing. They're not doing anything about it. U.S. consumer sentiment mired in a near-decade lows, University of Michigan finds. The University of Michigan's gauge of consumer sentiment... Economists polled... Though the index improved slightly from last month, it remains close to the roughly 10-year low seen in August, with consumers feeling worse about the economy today than any point during the pandemic. So how is this a rebound? Can somebody explain how a gauge of consumers' view of current conditions fell to 77.1 in September from 78? Well, an indicator of expectations. Okay, so household inflation expectations for the next 5 years held steady. So the big picture. Consumers are especially pessimistic about buying conditions for homes, vehicles, and long-lasting home goods, with consumer perception of those markets near all-time lows. So, it's like you're talking about endless. There are endless examples of. You're talking about endless examples of the economy tanking, and this is the thing. Every crisis that we've had for the past 20 years, the smartest people in the room were oblivious to. You can look at Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld and media and Democrats before 9/11. You could look at the smartest people in the room before 2008, completely oblivious. Before 2000, completely oblivious. And then I said Bush, and then 2008, completely oblivious. The global pandemic, they were completely oblivious to. They were blindsided by. Tell me when the smartest people in the room predicted anything. They react, and when they react, it's this, they demand allegiance and obedience because they're so intelligent and they're so educated and they're so, morally and intellectually superior. You have to listen to them. But they're completely blindsided. And their solutions oftentimes don't work. So their solutions to these grandiose issues do not work. How does that breed the confidence? Daniel, thank you. How does that breed the confidence that is expected? Or how you know what takes place is the following. They get angrier and angrier every single day. They are more angry and more frustrated every single day that half the country doesn't care about them or doesn't really care what they're like. This is what they're talking about. MSNBC. You can go on MSNBC's site. Trump's ongoing mission to reshape the GOP and his image just scored a big win. Okay, who cares? Mike Pence's January hero narrative just got a big plot twist courtesy of Dan Quayle. Like, okay, does this have anything to do with the impending market collapse? Or the fact that we're going to have an eviction crisis? Or the fact that 10 civilians lost their lives because of Biden yet again? People losing their lives directly because of Biden. And like they're not talking about anything like that is really going to impact people's lives. It's either gossip about Trump, hearsay about Trump, or like stories that are only interesting to the most hardcore liberal voters. They're not really talking about John Flynn, thank you. They're not really talking about anything that's important. They're not really talking about anything that's important to they're not talking about anything important for your life. Okay? 20 years ago, Republicans took advantage and had media in their pocket, and, you know, the country descended into madness, or the country was taken over by people who would start an era of never-ending wars. Bush's failed presidency was culminated by a financial collapse, near depression, which we're probably going to have. We'll probably have that with Biden, but we'll definitely have a stock market crash. So, but now it's a different. Bill Shepard, HAURAK called and said it's hungry. Bill Shepard, thank you. That's more money for the 7.62. Thank you so very much, Bill. Thank you. Glad you've seen that. Those segments are actually, you know what? I hope they're still up because I deleted all the videos on H.A. Goodman's other channel. So, dang. Bill Shepard, thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill Shepard. I'll put them back up if they're not up. Bill Shepard, thank you so very, very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen, so I do appreciate the support. Bill, thank you. I want to read you this, Bill, and everybody here. Moody's analysis also found that Biden's economic plan would marginally reduce growth next year. Why? And this is Bloomberg. Why, Bill and everybody here, is this man, mashed potato brains, trying to ruin us? Is it like a concerted effort? I don't know. I mean, it sounds absurd, but is it a concerted effort to ruin us? His jobs and infrastructure bill, according to Moody's, would reduce growth, reduce GDP next year. I mean, it's right here. I'm reading it. The Moody's analysis also found that Biden's plan would marginally reduce growth next year as higher taxes on corporations to pay for the initiatives would take effect before the added infrastructure spending or projects take off. So they're going to tax corporations, and they're going to increase taxes while there's inflation and there's a job shortage. Okay. And a shipping supply chain catastrophe. So we have supply chain issues, a labor shortage, inflation, consumer and producer price index all at record highs, shipping, the Baltic dry shipping index at record highs. We have greater margin debt than at any point in history in the stock market. The dollar's decreased in value. 20% of the money supply has been pumped in by the quantitative easing of the Federal Reserve. And he wants to increase taxes. They're going full steam ahead. Bill Shepard, thank you so very much. Thank you, Bill. They're going full steam ahead. He really could you do anything else to ruin the economy further? I don't know. I'm sure there are things that every single protocol. Charles Atkins, hello. They go. Every single protocol that they're pushing has nothing to do with economic growth. So all they do is talk and preach and pontificate, but they don't care about economic growth. The issue, ladies and gentlemen, should be about economic growth. That's what we should focus on. And you're going to have a lot of young people I don't say this with I don't say this with glee or Bitcoin right now it's at $47,612. And in on October 3rd of 2020, it was at 10,551. I don't know what is going to happen with the price. It could keep going up and up and up. I have no clue. I have no clue what's going to take place. All I can tell you is I think it's going to crash. Just because what's going to happen, in my humble view, and I don't say this with glee, because like I said, I respect people who invest and believe in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, and I respect. I don't agree with necessarily everything. I don't agree with a lot of the things pertaining to the philosophy, because Facebook and Twitter are trying to destroy Bitcoin. And they're trying to create digital currencies backed by the dollar, which defeats the purpose of Bitcoin. But I think it's going to crash because when the stock market crashes, even though you would think the dollar or the value of the dollar would descend further, people are going to be frightened back to holding on to what they know, which is a dollar backed by the government. And you would think the wisdom of the younger generation is, well, doesn't that show that things are so manipulated? And doesn't that show that the dollar, with all this money pumped in and just leads to inflation and derivatives and market rate and market crashes based on, interest rate swings and overvalued investments and all that. And you would think that I don't say this gleefully, because I don't want it to happen. I think that the people who invest in cryptocurrencies are awesome, good people, forward-thinking, and very likely it's the future. But I just don't know in what form. I also have a question as to why there are so many other digital currencies. If Bitcoin was either the best one or, it was the one that first started. It's the one with most value. So why are there other digital currencies? And there are derivatives trading. There are Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies derivatives, which is like the worst thing you could ever have. It's the worst thing you could ever have, because then you're just going to decrease. You could decrease the value of the cryptocurrency market within a day, within hours, with these derivatives, definitely within a week or a couple of days. But I think, when the market crashes, it's going to take everything down. People will be less willing to speculate, and they're going to revert back to old behavior, which is just embracing the dollar or any currency backed by a government. And they're not going to want to speculate. So the one thing you could say, I don't know if I'm 100% right about this. Like I said, I don't want to be right about this. If I'm wrong and Bitcoin keeps going up forever and the market keeps going up forever and there's no major catastrophe and it's just little corrections here and there, great, I'm wrong. I'm telling people to save your money in the form of, dollars in a savings account. And if you, at the end of the day, I'm wrong, a year from now, you can just buy, whatever investment you want. But I think people should focus on a rainy day fund. But when you're young, in your 20s or even early 30s, and you're invested in cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, or Bitcoin, and you really believe in the philosophy, and you believe in, that this will replace the dollar or replace traditional forms of payment, your idealism, your ideals, and your vision should be commended, but also we don't live in a rational world. We live in an irrational world, a counterintuitive world. So, Zeke, thank you. Thank you, Zeke. We live in a counterintuitive, irrational world. We live in a counterintuitive, irrational world where logical decisions oftentimes lead to logical or rational or idealistic decisions based on, a lot of research, sometimes lead to catastrophe. The road to where was paved with good intentions. So, you have derivatives trading. I don't think there should be derivatives trading with digital currencies. I think that's bad. I don't see the benefit in that. I don't see what would be the benefit of that. If you don't want the value of your currency devalued, if you don't want your currency to be worth less tomorrow, then why would you trade derivatives, contracts on the price fluctuations of Bitcoin? Why would you do that? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. The contracts already between... You had a hedge fund that went under just because Viacom stock went down 1 week. The entire hedge fund went under. And they placed $50 billion in bets that the SEC did not know about. And so you already have Christian O'Brien. Thank you, H.A. Goodman. Thank you, Christian, as always. Thank you, Christian, as always. But like, you just, it's like we're right now psychologically and emotionally, we're getting out of, we're still not out of this kind of, negative hysteria, this fear and hysteria from what that media is still trying to hold on to. Cancer and heart disease ended the lives of more people, but they're still trying to hold on to the hysteria because it suits them politically. And people are now like, most people are like, oh, well, we've rebounded, economy's rebounding, life is back to normal. But it's they're basically ice skating on the thinnest of ice. That the ice is going to crack beneath them, and they're going to just descend into freezing water. There's a disconnect between reality and the psychology of the belief, what people want, and the reality of what exists. There's a huge difference between the two. So we are not, the last thing anyone should do at this moment is speculate. Because we haven't rebounded in a traditional sense. And because the Federal Reserve has tried to speed up the economy, there's only two things that really benefited. One is corporate profits, but a lot of corporate profits are banking and the technology sectors. That's not really a representation of the overall economy. That's just a whole lot of the profits, a great percentage of the profits. 40% of the S&P 500's profits are banking. Christian O'Brien! Christian O'Brien, I'm trying to read it, but I don't. Thermography, silver. Thermography, thank you. Christian O'Brien. Come on, man. Is that what you're trying to say? Christian O'Brien, thank you. I do appreciate your support, Christian. And I appreciate the creativity in trying to get the message through. Although I don't. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I wish, it's just, I wish that there could be, free speech on the chat, but there just can't. There, as much as possible. But the YouTube algorithm goes after creators if, I can suffer if someone says something that is, I don't know. The YouTube algorithm generally takes, it's backwards. Okay. My name. Oh, my name is Joe Bryan. Christian O'Brien. See, yet again, an example of my lack of intellect. Christian O'Brien, thank you. Thank you. Christian, thank you so very, very much. Christian O'Brien, thank you. But I actually have been, there's some great podcasts that I watch. I have a great deal of respect for some people that really walk the walk. There are some people who are, really, really into Bitcoin and digital currency, and I've been watching their podcasts, and actually they're They're not really, like, they don't have many subs, but actually you would think that they would have millions or hundreds of thousands. But, you know, they know more about Bitcoin than anyone else. And they're very idealistic. They truly believe. And I have a lot of respect for them. I don't like, believe me, I will not be gleeful or, you know, like, I will not be happy when I think Bitcoin and current digital currencies are going to crash hard. But I won't be happy about that because there's so many good people. Christian O'Brien, thank you. There's so many good people. There's so many good people who invest in Bitcoin. Young people in their 20s and 30s, idealistic. And I just think that the system, I mean, you have Facebook and Twitter already trying to destroy Bitcoin. So I just think the system, and who do you think who do you think smarter? The people at Facebook or Twitter, even though they're like very integral in dividing society and causing all this chaos and mayhem? But who do you think's smarter? Who do you think's better at getting their interests taken care of? The tech giants or Biden's administration? Mashed potato brains and his bumbling, stumbling band of highly educated, highly polished buffoons and imbeciles. Who do you think's going to get their voice heard? So Facebook is already meeting and Twitter is already meeting with the government. Because Biden's government is totally okay with working with them to create a global payment system that using digital currency backed by the dollar or other currencies. What's the point of that? Because the whole point of Bitcoin, its raison d'etre, is that it isn't backed by any currency. That's the whole point of it. Leave it to Facebook and Twitter to just completely, you know, vomit all over the ideals of, you know, something that's pretty interesting, pretty cool. Leave it to them to just completely try to take a giant you-know-what. Alice, thank you. I mean, what's the point? Why would you, if you were invested in cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, why on earth? Because there's an appeal to the anonymity also. Why on earth would you want to use anything that Twitter or Facebook release or unveil pertaining to cryptocurrencies? They would just sell your data. That's what they do to make a big part of their money. They sell your data. Okay? All the search history in your phone, if you're on Facebook, they sell that data. Same with Twitter. So it's like, now your financial transactions are going to be even more like the focus of marketers. So it's like the whole entire point of Bitcoin was to remove the payment structure, global payment structure or currency from a government. But that's not what they're trying to do is completely different now. So it's like it makes no sense. None of this makes sense. We're living in an era where media is so important in the lives of people. Like, I remember just growing up in the 80s and 90s, in early 2000s even, where you could take a newspaper. You could actually enjoy just eating by yourself, reading a magazine or a newspaper. And you didn't need your phone. Okay? You could just where you could actually take an actual physical magazine or newspaper. I remember looking at box scores in the newspaper or stock prices in the newspaper. And now it's like everything is completely different. Media is in your face all the time. And they're selling the information that they're giving you, they're oftentimes selling, especially about politics. So that's why Democrats have, like, their message, their ideology has been infused even within Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is siding with the Democratic Party because they don't know why, they just are. So they move their All-Star game. But it's like the hysteria, the emotions they sell. They're selling more emotions now than ever before. There was always media was always important to an extent, but it wasn't as important in the lives of the average American. It didn't influence, like, you can look right now at a female singer whose voice should be elevated, but guess what? I think we know what the morally superior liberals were always about. This is what I've been trying to tell people. I'm not going to bring it up, but a female singer now is, of course, suspended from Twitter. And, well, so look how media in an instant converged upon a very powerful, very influential and successful, female singer with millions upon millions of fans around the world. It's like that would never have happened. That would never have happened in the 90s or even the early 2000s. Definitely not in the 80s. Because in the 80s and 90s, I mean, up until recently, media only had a certain reach. You would actually have to go and buy a magazine or turn on the news, or now it's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's everywhere. And they're reaching out to get you. And you know what? You buy shoes from Nike or Adidas or Reebok or Fila, and then you're going to get a whole bunch of, when you scroll down on YouTube, you'll get ads for shoe companies. I mean, it's right, Joy? It was amazing. 80s and 90s were great. They were awesome. Now you have on YouTube, you have, how to speak to the, how to go and speak to people and make connections, and how to speak to somebody. How to speak to potential love interests. It's like, well, you learned all of that growing up because you would go to parties, you would go to, young people do that now, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. But it's like, it wasn't like, I don't even want to get into it. It's like, you would have to go out. You couldn't meet people online. So you'd have to understand how to speak and communicate and have fun talking. It wasn't just your life wasn't like, your different interests weren't channeled through these cyber avenues. So, and you weren't bound by social media. That's for sure. Robbie, hello. But I mean, it's like we live in a world where we have more information than ever, and yet we are just as oblivious. Like, we're more oblivious. We have more information than ever, okay? And we're more oblivious to reality. Because now, also what's taking place is the Democratic Party, because they have media on their side, like, it's Orwellian. The New York Post gets suspended. A certain female singer recently gets suspended from Twitter. Like Twitter, like everyone on the planet should delete their Twitter accounts. It is the worst place to have a forum. It's the worst place. It does like if I was that female singer, I would delete my account and I would run a campaign to tell people to just delete their account. Then you'd have word of mouth. Word of mouth is way more important than a profile on Twitter. Way more important. I would go ahead and immediately just delete. If she deleted her account, she's like millions of followers. That would be the worst thing for Twitter. And that's the issue. Like, people just accept it. They accept the suppression. I mean, I understand. Like, this is the thing. There's certain things that like I play ball, but it's not like if I had the presence, like a global presence, I wouldn't need to play ball. So, when it comes to like talking about certain things or in the chat room or comment, it's like, okay, I'll play ball. Fine. But if you're that big, if you have that big of a reach, you should definitely take a stand. Because you taking a stand against Twitter would actually work. It would like tank. I mean, how do you suspend Donald Trump because you think that his words are going to get people to do crazy things? Christian O'Brien! It's like growing kale naturally. And instead of sauteing the kale, they take it from you, process it, turn it into kale chips, and sell it back to you. Exactly. Christian O'Brien, thank you. Exactly. I agree with you. There's this bug again. I agree with you. Christian O'Brien, thank you so very, very much. Okay, where is this thing? Christian O'Brien, thank you. Okay, hold on one second. Got to get my Lysol going on. Christian, there is a way to, if you Google it, it's pretty easy. It takes a second to delete your Twitter account. You know when you see like these people like delete your account, it's like that's the best advice they could ever give you. They're trying to be like petulant and snarky, but it's the best advice they could ever give anybody. Delete your account. It's like, well, yeah, people should delete their account. I forgot. I haven't had Twitter in like 3 years. So I deleted my account 3 years ago, but it is pretty easy. You just go to the settings, I think. There's like a settings tab, like, in any social media, and just say delete. But yeah, definitely. Christian O'Brien, thank you as always. Oh, and then people at the Federal Reserve, reports in recent days indicate Fed officials have been trading stocks and bonds that could be influenced at least indirectly by their decisions. So, so you have Federal Reserve officials who are engaging in potential insider trading. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, if this story gains traction, again, you would think that it's going to help. You would think it's going to help. Oh my God. Sorry about that. Little mosquito that tried to mess. After Dodd-Frank, every agency in Washington tightened up little conflicts like insider trading, and yet the Fed is somehow exempt from those rules. They look ridiculous. So there's now an insider trading issue in the Fed. Okay? This is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. And this is happening under Biden's watch. These are the people who pride themselves on being regulators. Regulators! These are the people who pride themselves on being regulators. And it's like, it's happening under their watch. It's taking place under their watch. So let's hear. Federal Reserve officials stock trading sparks ethics review. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. So not only do you have everything bad, everything possible every possible thing like that could take place, but okay, here, Federal Reserve official stock trading sparks ethics review. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So, I mean, this is the definition of insider trading because they're actually involved in the quantitative easing that is pumping money into the economy and into the stock market, and then they're buying and selling. They shouldn't be able to buy and sell stocks, or at least there should be some kind of, some kind of rules, but here, don't mess with the zone. It's like there should be some kind of rules. You know what I mean? There should be some kind of protocol. There should be some kind of protocol. And it's like they still don't understand. Here, the review will assist in identifying ways to further tighten those rules and standards. The boards will make changes as appropriate. So, last week, the heads of two regional federal banks, Dallas president and Boston president, came under scrutiny from a report from the Wall Street Journal detailing some of their 2020 investments. The newspaper found that they had traded stocks in companies like Apple and Amazon. Some of the trades reportedly reached well into the, hundreds of thousands, so millions, sorry. The report also detailed multiple real estate investments made by, while both bank presidents said they complied with ethical rules, they later said they would divest their assets to avoid the appearance of any conflict of interest. So, then of course Elizabeth Warren, after it happened, said, we gotta fix this. So, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable. I don't know. This is kind of like... Exactly, Martha... Christian O'Brien, the person most scorned and angered by all of this is Martha Stewart. Oh my God. Could you imagine? While they were going after Martha Stewart, that was like 8 years before the entire global financial collapse. Like, they were focused on Martha Stewart. GG! GG, thank you. Hi, HA. I have not heard anything about Durham anywhere else. Praying it happens. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so very much, GG. Thank you. Thank you, GG. It's going to... I think that, like I said, there are going to be more indictments that are going to take place. And you're looking, ladies and gentlemen, GG, everybody here, at people who engaged in perjury because of conflicting statements. And there are no the statute of limitations might have been up very soon for this lawyer because he had interactions with the FBI in 2016. But there's congressional testimony, there's closed-door testimony from Comey and everyone else, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. So, GG, thank you so very much. Thank you. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look back, GG and everybody here, at this moment in hindsight, kind of like the way... one of the beginning scenes in Jaws, when the person is swimming, and you hear like dun 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 dun. Like you're just gonna see. You're gonna see. I think there's going to be a stock market crash and a real financial catastrophe ahead. By the way, states that ended unemployment benefits see no boost in job growth. So unemployment benefits are ending because now the Democrats in Republicans. Oh, both of them. This is the thing. Democrats would be happy. What they really want is universal basic income. So they would be happy just providing universal basic income until the value of the dollar is like worth half of a Tic Tac. They'd be fine with that. They'd be fine with that. Face of America, hello. GG, thank you so very much. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. To my super chat, thank you. So, I mean, let's look. I mean, everywhere you look, it's just negative news. Like, I've never seen this. Like, with Biden, with Trump, you had like amazing economy, and everything else was hysteria, apoplectic nonsense. Everything else was just, complete and utter hysteria. Everything else was hysteria. Oh my God, Putin. And then Nancy Pelosi had the audacity the other day of saying, she was in like the UK speaking in a college or conference or university, I don't know. But she said something like, oh yeah, the Republicans are in a cult. It's like, no, they're not. Actually, the Republican Party despises Trump. Most of them do, or a lot of, I should say, the remnants of the, what was left from the Bush years despises Trump. The Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan. I like Kevin McCarthy, but he's still like, he's not as, he doesn't have enough bite. He doesn't have enough, like, he still cares about what the Kinsingers and Cheneys think, to an extent. You need like a Devin Nunes or a Jim Jordan. You need first of all, Democrats are like, take back your party. You've done great things for the country. Like they have only contempt for Republicans. They see Trump as a huge obstacle, so they're like, oh yeah, take back your party from Trump. Because they know that Trump can actually defeat them and has defeated them in 2016. Oh, he's on vacation. Biden needs to end beach vacation amid crisis. Get off his behind and get to work. Hannity. We have 100 Americans still behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's on vacation. He is Scott, exactly. He's a Herbert Hoover. Except Herbert Hoover didn't arm the T-Ban with $28 billion to $60 billion worth of weaponry. So it's like, it's like, it's really unbelievable how all of this, how like we are right now in this like purgatory where we've already seen what Biden is capable of doing in terms of messing things up. We've already seen that he couldn't even, that he was given the Doha Agreement. He didn't want to evacuate prior to an arbitrary time that he decided. The agreement called for a May 1st evacuation. He should have started evacuating January, February, March, April. The economy is not recovering in the manner that it should. The warning signs, the everything is there. The economic indicators all show a catastrophe. The only thing holding the stock market up at record highs, by the way, with record highs in margin and debt, are corporate profits, but people are willing to pay more. That's not going to last. People are not going to be willing to pay more forever because they're not going, the value of the dollar and their jobs, they're not going to be, they're simply not going to just be willing to accept the costs of rising prices, rising producer costs. So then corporate profits are going to take a hit. And once that takes place, then what do you have propping up prices? Then you have the derivatives, the issue of derivatives. Derivatives trades are going to be the reason the market tanks. Derivatives trades are going to be one of the reasons the market tanks, which is why I don't understand the cryptocurrency. Like, I don't understand Bitcoin and the derivatives trades with Bitcoin. Or cryptocurrencies and derivatives. I don't think that should... If the whole point is that you want to be different from the dollar, then why would you engage in the same risky behavior that the stock market and investment banks and hedge funds engage in? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. So, let's look. Let's see here. You look at Biden and there's absolutely no emphasis. There's absolutely no emphasis on any accountability by media. You have foreign policy disasters where a military strike cost the lives of 11 civilians. No outrage from Democrats or media. If it was Trump, they would want to send him to The Hague. You have consumer confidence down. You have a market crash ahead. So subscribe to the Market Crash channel, the Stock Market Crash channel. Gary, I think so. You have all of these problems. An economy that, see, one of the reasons also, in addition to, one of the reasons as well, the stock market and the smartest people in the room think the economy's going to move, going to rebound in the way that it's not. It's actually not rebounding at all. But one of the reasons that sentiment is positive among the elites or the smartest people in the room is that big bad Trump is out of the picture. If you're a hedge fund like Wall Street investment banker, if you're that type of person, you work on Wall Street, or you're a hedge fund manager, or you're going to live in New York, you're going to go to dinner parties and functions and banquets, and you're going to go to all these things where you're surrounded by people who despise Trump. They despise Trump. So that's going to influence your economic decisions. Maybe not by a great deal, but it will. Your economic decisions, like even the trading behavior, the risk exposure, they'll take on more risk. There's a moral hazard in despising Trump in the manner that people do. So part of the market reaching its highs is not just the belief that an economy is going to rebound. By the way, it's not really rebounding in the manner that it should at all, which is another sign, of course, that the economy is going to tank. But you have people who, media is not treating Biden in the manner it treated Trump every day. If they didn't have anything on Trump, they fabricated a story, like they're doing today. Oh, a book says he wanted to launch a nuclear war. Oh, my God. There's no evidence about that. Where's a book saying that Biden was selling access to the U.S. government with his son? Where's that book? Where is that book? And could you imagine that where's the evidence? Oh, my God. It's horrible. How dare you? I mean, these people are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They demand categorical proof for any statement against them, and then they just spread gossip and hearsay when it comes to Trump. It's pretty unbelievable. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. And it's like, why don't people see the writing on the wall? Why don't they see what you and I see? We know, a stock market crash with hedge funds going under and banks incurring billions upon billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in losses, leading to potential bailout money. You're going to have inflation a lot more than 5%, and the value of the dollar is going to decrease a lot more than it has. If they can't pump 20% of all the money that's in the economy right now was introduced to the economy within the past year. So how much more money can you inject into the economy without or really terrible consequences. Like how much more? Interest rates are at 0. So, I mean, they've tried everything possible to promote liquidity and to promote economic activity. They've tried everything possible, and still, like, it's barely working, but there are so many cracks and so many potential pitfalls. And you have derivatives, and you have margin debt, and you already have 2 canaries in the coal mine with Archegos, the hedge fund that went under, and the GameStop short squeeze. I mean, these hedge funds are so sensitive to price fluctuations. They're so sensitive. It's like right there. They're so sensitive to price fluctuations. A major dip down right now. See, when the market crashed last year, we didn't have all these problems. When the market crashed, we had a strong economy. Last year in 2020, when the market crashed, we had a strong economy. We had record low unemployment. We had wages that were increasing. We had manufacturing jobs. We had all of these. The economic indicators weren't at all-time highs in terms of producer price, consumer price index, Baltic dry shipping index that Bernard Sanders completely ignores. So does AOC. We didn't have all of these problems. That's the point. And we didn't have as much debt in terms of derivatives. So it's like you have like there's no room right now. If the market tanks next month or 5 months from now, okay, there's no safety net in terms of economic progress. There's a eviction moratorium. Unemployment has ended in a lot of states. So what are you going to tell people? AOC wants legislation to continue the moratorium and to continue unemployment benefits. It's like you created this, Democrats, and she did also by staying silent when when people were prevented from working. The majority of the United States labor force was not affected by the global. Just look at the numbers in terms of age and the data in terms of who lost their lives the most. I'll leave it at that. You did not have to end all of society. You didn't have to end all of society. You did not have to do that. But they did that. And they did that also because it hurt Trump. Their whole lives are like petulant, revolve around this petulant belief that if they can hurt or undermine or disparage Trump, I'm telling you, I mean, people roll their eyes and they don't really. There could be ICBMs flying above with people living on the streets, going to the bathroom on your car as you're driving, with your stock portfolio being worth 0. Stock market crash, banks being bailed out, every remedy for you-know-what not working. And people like living in Mad Max and Waterworld and every dystopian hellscape, Orwellian society, nightmarish world possible. Or every, example of such a world. And they would say at least Trump is not tweeting. They don't care. They don't care. Listen, you have to understand the mindset. These are people who, if there was an encampment of people outside their home who couldn't, they'd be fine with it. They wouldn't care because they would say, at least, yeah, they're going to the bathroom on the street, but at least we don't have Trump. They don't care. They don't care. Roger Rabbit with the super chat. You were calling that Durham. You were calling that Durham needed to gain political support. Soon he will have support in ways the world has never seen. Brace yourself. You know what? Is that John Travolta? The little emoji right there. Yeah. Nice. Roger Rabbit. Thank you, Roger Rabbit. Thank you. Thank you, Roger Rabbit. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Roger Rabbit. Thank you so much. I just, you have to understand also, I guess for the next, we'll end very soon, but I don't know if people understand the psychology. This is important too. I'm going to talk about this every live stream also. It's kind of interesting. You have to understand the psychology of the morally superior Democrat. Anything could take place. Anything. Nuclear annihilation. Martians coming down and forcing people, spinning people into a cocoon and then siphoning their life force and bodily fluids into a spaceship. As they're in the cocoon with little things attached to them that siphons their life force, they will say, at least Trump's not tweeting. They don't care. They don't care. They don't want Trump. They just don't want Trump. If we could have record low unemployment again, an economy that's working, they don't want him. I don't care. They don't care. Biden could streak naked down Pennsylvania Avenue. He could fall asleep during a State of the Union. They don't care. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Do you understand? There could be another economic collapse. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. They wouldn't care at all. That's not they simply don't they simply don't see the world in the manner that you and I do. Their world revolves around contempt for Trump. So their world revolves around disliking Trump and using Trump as this foil, as this way to using Trump as a way to make themselves feel good. Exactly, Amanda. It wouldn't even be in the news. None of it would be in the news. If the ICBMs were heading to our way, to the country from Russia or China, they wouldn't care. If it was nuclear apocalypse, they wouldn't care. They would say, well, it was nice knowing you. We had a good life. Oh, honey, we had a great life. Well, look at the bright side. At least Trump is not tweeting. Oh, that's true. You know what? Let's make some coffee and eat some Krispy Kremes and just await the end of the world. Because, at least Trump is not tweeting. oh no, there's a person taking a poop outside our home. That's fine. The ICBMs will take care of everybody. And that's it. They don't care. Their whole lives revolve around disliking and Trump. Like if it was like Mad Max, like 2 go in, 1 come out, they would say, at least, yeah, it's true, we live in this science fiction world where but Trump is not mean anymore. That's what their life is about. That's what that's what their life is about. Just disliking Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Eric, Luke St. Martin, thank you so much. Let's just really quickly look. You type in Biden, and it's like, you're not going to get any information. See, they also think that, like, lack of reporting on Biden is, like, they're like, oh, well, if we don't report on Biden and there's no drama, even though there's tremendous amount of drama. There's a tremendous amount of drama. But if we don't report on Biden, then that'll be this foil to Trump, because there was so much drama during Trump's administration. And you can see now that there's no drama with Biden, even though he has like one of the worst track records of all time as a president now. I mean, you've literally armed the T-band for years to come with like $28 billion to $68 billion in weaponry. Okay, you've literally armed them forever. Scott, exactly. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What used to be something that was unheard of is now becoming like what used to be viewed as something like CMW. I'll go Senegal. Go Senegal. Oh, good night. Thank you, CMW. Thank you. Thank you, CMW. Thank you so very much. I hope all is well, CMW. Thank you so very much. As always, thank you so very, very much. Go, no go. Thank you. Thank you, CMW. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, CMW. Thank you. David, hello. Thank you, David. CMW, thank you so very much. CMW, I think we're living in interesting times right now. And I say this, like, I know that, it's like I said, it's counterintuitive, because I'm so thankful for I'm so thankful for the super chat, CMW, because I can't do these live streams without you and everybody here with the super chat. So CMW, as always, I have to thank you, as always, for your generosity. But I urge everyone to save your money every month in a savings account for a rainy day, just cash. Don't worry about any type of investment in that account. And every month, every week, every month, if you could save $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $2,000 or more, I mean, if you can save that money every single month, because if the market crashes in March, you will have saved money October, November, December, January, February, March. Okay? You could have saved $6,000 or $12,000 or, a couple of $1,000. And you will have that savings when you need it. I think cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are going to tank hard. And I don't say that with glee because I know that there's so many good people with, a philosophy that I respect greatly. Thank you, CMW. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. So you've seen, if you've withstood my personality for years, I appreciate that, CMW. Thank you so very much. I mean, you've seen then my God, what a roller coaster it's been the past couple of years. I appreciate you watching for so long. Thank you. I just think that I will have, of course, a stock market crash channel every morning. Every morning, I'll have a stock market crash channel update. And it'll be like, 10 to 20 minutes. It'll be longer than a usual upload on my main channel. And I have a lot to talk about tomorrow morning. And here is my latest, ladies and gentlemen. David, hello. Christian, thank you. Here's my latest. I'll send it to you again, everybody. It's in the chat. On the upload, if you've lasted this long, please subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I can't thank you all enough. To my Super Chat, CMW, Christian, everybody here, thank you so much. I don't know if I'm going to do another live stream tonight, but there's a chance I will, or I'll do an upload. But definitely hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. And I'll see everybody later tonight. Definitely tomorrow morning with the Stock Market Crash channel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. CMW, Christian, everybody here, thank you. God bless you.